Daewon Kim stood before the massive window, watching the stars drift past. Behind him, the council chamber buzzed with alien voices speaking in hundreds of languages. His reflection stared back at him from the glass, a tired man carrying the weight of an entire world on his shoulders. Somewhere in this station, locked behind energy barriers and armed guards, Bo-Ra Choi waited for judgment. His colleague, his friend, the woman they said had killed 40,000 beings. He didn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. The chamber doors opened with a deep chime that vibrated through the floor. Daewon turned and walked inside, his footsteps echoing on polished stone that had been old when Earth was still forming. The council chamber was enormous, circular, with seats rising in tiers like an ancient amphitheater. Representatives from 47 species watched him enter. Some had eyes. Some had sensors. Some had things he couldn't even name. All of them were judging. At the center of the room sat 3 figures on a raised platform. Veltharon occupied the middle seat, his insectoid body gleaming under the lights. 800 years old, they said. He had been judging criminals since before humans discovered fire. To his left sat Crintalis, the prosecutor. She was crystalline, her body made of living geometric shapes that caught and bent light in painful ways. When she spoke, her voice rang like breaking glass. "The human delegation may approach," Veltharon announced. His translator chip rendered his clicking mandibles into flat, emotionless words. Daewon walked forward. His heart hammered. But he kept his face calm. Humanity had fought for 30 years to earn a seat at this table. One mistake, one moment of weakness. "This council convenes to pass judgment on Bo-Ra Choi, citizen of Earth," Veltharon continued. "She stands accused of activating a forbidden ancient installation, causing a dimensional rupture that destroyed Quarantine Zone 7. 40,312 beings died. Does the human delegation understand the charges?" "We understand," Daewon said. His voice came out steady. "Good." Crintalis rose, her crystalline body chiming softly. "The evidence is clear. Overwhelming. Absolute. We have quantum-sealed surveillance from the site. We have DNA evidence. We have the installation's own logs showing human biometric authorization. Bo-Ra Choi went to Terminus 7. Alone. She accessed the ancient facility. She activated the forbidden mechanisms. The dimensional rift followed immediately. Holographic displays materialized around the chamber. Daewon watched footage from Terminus 7 play out in sickening detail. The ancient installation rising from dead soil, Bo-Ra's research vessel landing nearby. Hours later, reality itself tearing open like a wound. The quarantine zone's biodomes crumpling like paper. 40,000 lives. Gone in seconds. "Humans," Crintalis said, her voice sharp enough to cut, "are the youngest species in this council. You have been members for only 47 years. In that time, you have demonstrated consistent patterns. Recklessness. Curiosity without wisdom. Action without thought. Your species found nuclear fission and immediately built weapons. You discovered your own genetic code and began rewriting it without understanding the consequences. You reached space and left debris clouds around your own planet." Daewon felt his jaw tighten. Every word was technically true. It was also deeply unfair. "Now," Crintalis continued, "your archaeologist finds an ancient site clearly marked with warning symbols, protected by council quarantine. And what does she do? She activates it, because humans always need to push the button. To open the box. To see what happens." "That's not what happened," Daewon said. "Then please, enlighten us. What did happen?" Daewon looked up at the tiers of alien faces. "I don't know. Bo-Ra won't say." A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. Clicks. Whistles. Electronic pulses. Disapproval. In 100 languages. She won't say? Veltheron leaned forward. The accused refuses to explain her actions? Veltheron. Sulfur. Veltheron. Veltheron. She says she did what had to be done. She says the artifact knows the truth. What artifact? Crintalis demanded. I don't know. She won't elaborate. More reactions from the council. Worse this time. This is precisely the problem. Crintalis said. She gestured, and more holograms appeared. Humans believe themselves special. Chosen. You call yourselves the protagonists of reality. You make entertainment, where humans always win, always outsmart the aliens, always save the day. You came to the stars, expecting to be heroes. She pointed at Day One. But this is not one of your stories. This is reality. In reality, young species make mistakes, catastrophic mistakes, and the galaxy cannot afford your learning curve. Day One felt heat rising in his chest. My people have made mistakes. Every species has. But Bo-Ra Choi is not a reckless fool. She has spent 10 years studying ancient sites. She has published 37 papers on precursor civilizations. She has followed every protocol, every rule, every guideline. If she activated that installation, she had a reason. The reason, Crintalis said coldly, is that humans cannot resist forbidden knowledge. The ancients left their technology scattered across the galaxy as warnings. Here there be dragons, as your own ancient maps once said. But warnings only attract human curiosity. Veltheron raised one clawed limb. The debate is concluded. Tomorrow, we will bring Bo-Ra Choi before this council. She will testify. If she cannot provide adequate explanation, this council will vote on humanity's continued membership. The words hit like a physical blow. Day One knew the stakes were high, but hearing them stated so plainly made his stomach drop. If the vote goes against you, Veltheron continued, his ancient eyes unreadable, the council will invoke the Kessler Protocols. Humanity will be quarantined to your Sol system for a minimum of 500 years. All colonies will be recalled. All technology exchanges terminated. All treaties voided. Earth will be alone. 500 years. Longer than the United States had existed. Longer than most human civilizations. By the time the quarantine ended, everyone alive today would be dust. The council is adjourned, Veltheron said. Day One Kim, you may visit the accused for 1 hour. Then she returns to isolation. Veltheron. The chamber began to empty. Day One stood frozen, watching aliens file out in ones and twos. Some looked at him with pity, others with satisfaction. As he finally turned to leave, Veltheron called out, Day One Kim. He stopped. Your species has promise, the ancient being said quietly. I have seen many young civilizations. Some grow into wisdom. Others. He clicked his mandibles. Tomorrow will decide which path yours takes. I hope, for your sake, that Bo-Ra Choi has an explanation worth hearing. Day One nodded and left. As he walked through the corridors toward the detention level, one thought repeated in his mind. Bo-Ra, he thought. Whatever you did, whatever you found, I hope you're right about that artifact knowing the truth. Because tomorrow, the truth is all we have left. The detention level hummed with energy fields. Day One walked past cell after cell, each containing beings who had violated galactic law. Most ignored him. A few watched with curious eyes as the human passed. Bo-Ra's cell sat at the end of the corridor. She stood at the barrier, hands pressed against the energy field, staring at nothing. When she heard his footsteps, she turned. Day One. Her voice was tired. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. How bad is it? Bad. He stopped at the barrier. They're talking about the Kessler Protocols. 500 years, Bo-Ra. Earth alone. For 5 centuries, she closed her eyes. I'm sorry. Then tell me what happened. Tell them. The council thinks you activated that installation out of curiosity or recklessness. Give them something else to think. Number 4. Number 4. I can't. She looked at him, and he saw something in her expression he'd never seen before. Fear. Not yet. The artifact has to speak first. What artifact? What are you talking about? Bo-Ra moved closer to the barrier. When she spoke, her voice dropped to a whisper. On Terminus 7, I found something. Something the ancients left behind. It's not just technology, Day One. It's a witness, a judge, but it will only speak when the time is right. That's not good enough. Tomorrow you testify. If you don't convince them, I know. She pressed her palm flat against the barrier. Do you trust me? Trust me. Do you trust me? Do you trust me? Do you trust me? He wanted to say yes immediately. They'd worked together for 5 years. She'd saved his life once on a survey mission gone wrong. She'd never lied to him, never given him reason to doubt. But 40,000 people were dead. Yes, he said finally. I trust you. She smiled, sad and small. Then trust that I did what had to be done, and trust that the truth will come out. The guards announced his time was up. Day One left, his heart heavier than before. The next morning, the council chamber filled to capacity. Every representative attended. Gallery seats held observers from 100 worlds. Day One sat in the human delegation section with Hyun-Sik Park, Earth's lead counsel. The older man was sweating, despite the cool temperature. She has to give them something, Hyun-Sik muttered. Anything. A reason. A motive. Some explanation that makes sense. She will, Day One said, trying to believe it. The doors opened. Guards brought Bo-Ra in. She wore simple gray clothing. No restraints. The council didn't believe in physical chains. When energy fields worked better. She walked to the center platform and stood straight, chin up, facing her judges. Veltharon studied her for a long moment. Bo-Ra Choi. You have heard the charges. You have seen the evidence. Before this council passes judgment, you will speak. Tell us what happened on Terminus 7. Bo-Ra took a breath. I went to Terminus 7 following energy readings that matched other ancient sites. I had proper authorization for the survey. When I arrived, I found an installation unlike anything in our databases. Holographic displays activated, showing her logs. The installation was marked with warning symbols, yes, but not the kind we thought. I spent 3 days translating the scripts. They didn't say, stay away, or danger. They said, prison. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Prison? Krintalis's voice cut through the noise. You expect us to believe the installation was a jail? Not a jail for people. Bo-Ra's hands clenched at her sides. A jail for something else. Something the ancients called the unraveling. An entity that consumes dimensional stability. The installation wasn't a monument or a laboratory. It was a cage. Veltharon leaned forward. And you discovered this? How? The facility's central chamber held a database. Limited, but clear. The ancients built dozens of these prisons across the galaxy 3 million years ago. They locked away things too dangerous to destroy. Things that would damage reality itself if released. Fascinating, Krintalis said, her tone making clear she didn't believe a word. And this database told you to activate the installation? No. Bo-Ra's voice hardened. The database showed me that the seals were failing. Someone had sabotaged them. The containment was breaking down. The unraveling was hours from escaping. The chamber erupted, shouting in a dozen languages. Veltharon raised his limbs for silence. It took several minutes before order returned. You claim, Veltharon said carefully, that you activated the installation to reinforce the prison seals? Yes. And the dimensional rupture that killed 40,000 beings? Bo-Ra's voice cracked slightly. Was necessary. The only way to reset the seals was to create a controlled collapse of local dimensional space. I calculated the blast radius. I broadcast warnings on every frequency. I did everything I could to minimize casualties. Minimize? Crintalis moved forward. 40,000 dead is minimizing, compared to billions when the unraveling escaped? Yes. Bo-Ra met her gaze. I chose the lesser evil. I made the call that had to be made. And I would do it again. The chamber went silent. Daewon felt ice in his veins. She'd just admitted to intentionally causing the rupture. Let me be certain I understand. Veltharan said. You discovered a prison. You decided it was failing. You decided the only solution was to trigger a dimensional collapse. You decided that 40,000 lives were an acceptable sacrifice. All of this, you decided alone, without consultation, without oversight, without permission. There was no time for committees, Bo-Ra said. The seals would have failed completely within hours. By the time I could have reported back, gotten authorization, assembled a team, the unraveling would have been free. Or, Crintalis said softly, there was no prison, no entity, no threat, only a human archaeologist who activated ancient technology she didn't understand and killed thousands through incompetence. I understood perfectly. The installation's database was clear. Then where is this database? Where is your evidence? Bo-Ra hesitated. The installation was destroyed in the collapse. How convenient. But I found something else. Something that survived. An artifact that witnessed everything. Another convenient claim with no evidence. Daewon watched the council members. Their body language, their energy fields, their subtle signals, all said the same thing. They didn't believe her. Hyun-Sik stood. Honored counsel. Bo-Ra Choi's record is exemplary. 10 years of careful research, dozens of papers, multiple commendations for her work. She has never violated protocols before this incident. Does that not suggest her story deserves consideration? It suggests, Crintalis replied, that she finally found ancient technology too tempting to resist. Even the most careful beings can make mistakes. Humans simply make them faster. The vote was called. Daewon watched in mounting horror as representative after representative indicated their judgment. Red lights. Guilty. Over and over. When the count finished, it was unanimous. Bo-Ra Choi, Veltharan announced. This council finds you guilty of catastrophic negligence resulting in mass death. You are sentenced to permanent exile on a penal colony world. Furthermore, this council votes to invoke the Kessler Protocols against humanity. Effective immediately, all humans must return to Sol System within 6 months. Earth will be quarantined for 500 years. Daewon felt the world tilt. It was over. Everything was over. But Bo-Ra smiled. Actually smiled. You've made your judgment, she said. Now let the ancients make theirs. Before anyone could respond, alarms shrieked through the station. An automated voice announced in multiple languages. Unauthorized vessel approaching. Quarantine protocols violated. Security alert level maximum. Veltharan's mandibles clattered in anger. What is the meaning of this? A communication channel opened. A man's voice, calm and clear. This is Captain Taemin Yoon, of the human vessel Copernicus. We carry evidence from Terminus 7 under Galactic Salvage Law. We demand the right to present findings. Crintalis turned to the human delegation. Your people violate council space during an official judgment? This is an act of war. But Hyun-Sik was smiling now too. Article 7 of Galactic Salvage Law. Evidence from derelict sites must be presented if it pertains to ongoing legal proceedings. You wrote that law. Not us. Veltheron's compound eyes reflected the lights for a long moment. Then he sighed, a strange clicking sound. They are correct. The law is clear. 1 hour. They have 1 hour to present their evidence. Day One looked at Bora. She was still smiling. What did you find? He whispered. The truth, she said. And it's going to change everything. Captain Taemin Yoon walked into the council chamber like he owned it. Behind him came Yuri Han, Bora's research partner, and 4 security personnel, carrying something covered in protective cloth. Whatever it was hummed with a sound that made Day One's teeth ache. You have 1 hour, Veltheron announced. Speak. Taemin bowed slightly. He was older, maybe 45, with gray at his temples and scars on his hands from years of shipwork. Honored Council, 3 months ago, we received a transmission from Bo-Ra Choi. It was sent just before communications from Terminus 7 went dark. The transmission contained coordinates and a simple message. If I don't survive, someone needs to find what's buried beneath the installation. Crintalis made a dismissive sound. More convenient claims. Not claims, facts. Taemin nodded to his crew. They set the covered object down and pulled away the cloth. The chamber went silent. The artifact was beautiful and terrifying at once. Crystalline but not like Crintalis's body. This was something older, something that predated modern matter. It pulsed with soft blue light, and symbols covered every surface. Ancient script that no living being could fully read. We spent 3 months excavating this, Yuri said, stepping forward. Her voice shook slightly. It was in a shielded vault, 500 meters below the installation. The vault survived the dimensional collapse. Barely, she gestured, and holographic displays activated around the artifact. We've done preliminary analysis. The material doesn't match anything in our databases. The energy signature is consistent with ancient technology, but different somehow. More focused. More intentional. What is it? Veltheron asked. We don't know for certain. But the symbols repeat a single word around the base. A word that appears in ancient texts, across the galaxy. She pointed to a string of symbols. This word has been found in 17 different ancient sites. It's one of the few words we're confident we understand. And the word is? Crintalis demanded. Arbiter. The council chamber erupted again. Day One knew why. The arbiters were legendary. Ancient texts mentioned them, but never explained them. Some scholars thought they were judges. Others thought they were weapons. No one had ever found one. Until now. You expect us to believe, Crintalis said over the noise, that you've found an arbiter? Yes, Yuri said simply. And what does this arbiter do? We don't know. We haven't activated it. We thought the council should be present when the artifact flared. Bright blue light filled the chamber, and the humming sound grew to a deep resonance that vibrated through everyone's bones. Day One saw Bo-Ra take a step forward, her eyes wide. It's responding to her, Taemin said. It's been doing that since we brought it aboard. Every time we got close to the station, the light got brighter. Veltheron rose from his seat, an unprecedented action. The ancient being moved down to the floor level, approaching the artifact carefully. In 800 years, I have never seen an arbiter activate. I thought them lost or destroyed. What are they? Day One asked. What do they do? When do? We're not certain. Ancient texts are unclear. But what we do know. Veltheron touched the artifact gently, with one claw. The ancients built their civilization on principles we don't fully understand. They believed in concepts that modern species have forgotten. The arbiters, we think, were part of their justice system. Not courts or judges in our sense. Something deeper. The artifact's light intensified. Symbols began to move across its surface, rearranging themselves in patterns that hurt to look at. Crintalis moved closer despite herself. Even if this is an arbiter, it means nothing. Ancient technology cannot testify. It cannot speak truth from lies. Can't it? Bo-Ra's voice was soft, but carried through the chamber. The ancients were 3 million years more advanced than any species alive today. They mapped dimensions we can't perceive. They built prisons that still hold after millions of years. You think they couldn't create a device that records objective truth? She walked toward the artifact. The guards moved to stop her. But Veltharon raised a limb. Let her approach. Bo-Ra stood before the arbiter. The blue light washed over her face. On Terminus 7, when I realized what was happening, I found this. It was in the control room, connected to the installation systems. I spoke to it. I told it everything. What I'd discovered. What I was about to do. Why I was doing it. I asked it to remember. She placed her hand on the artifact's surface. I asked it to tell the truth if anyone came looking. The arbiter's light exploded outward. Day One threw up his arm to shield his eyes. When he lowered it, the artifact was projecting something into the air above it. Not a hologram. Something more real. It was Bo-Ra. But not the Bo-Ra standing before them. This was a recording. A memory made solid. Day One watched the recorded Bo-Ra standing in an ancient facility, her hands flying over alien controls. This is Dr. Bo-Ra Choi. Her voice came from the projection. If anyone finds this recording, I need you to understand what happened here. I need you to know. I didn't do this lightly. The projection showed what she'd found. The database. The warnings. The prison seals degrading. And there, on the equipment, Day One saw something that made his blood run cold. Sabotage equipment. Modern technology attached to ancient systems, carefully designed to degrade the seals without triggering immediate alarms. Someone tried to free what's locked in here, the recorded Bo-Ra said. Someone wanted the unraveling loose. I don't know who or why, but the evidence is clear. The seals are failing faster than they should. Faster than time alone could cause. The projection shifted, showing calculations scrolling across displays. I've run the numbers 16 times. The seals will fail completely in 4 hours. If that happens, the unraveling escapes. It will consume local dimensional stability, then spread. Within days, it will reach inhabited systems. Within weeks, half the galaxy will be uninhabitable. Day One felt his stomach drop. The council chamber was completely silent. There's only one way to reset the seals, the recorded Bo-Ra continued. A controlled dimensional collapse. It will destroy the quarantine zone. Everyone in the biodomes will die. 40,312 people, according to census data. Her voice broke. I've tried to find another way. I've searched the database for alternatives. There aren't any. It's this, or the unraveling. Thousands or billions. The projection showed her hands hovering over controls. I'm going to broadcast warnings on every frequency. I'm going to give them as much time as I can. Some might escape, but most won't. And they'll die because I chose to save people they'll never meet, on worlds they'll never see. She looked directly at the arbiter. If humanity is judged for this, let them be judged on truth. Let them know I understood the cost. Let them know I paid it willingly. Her hand came down on the controls. The projection showed the installation activating, reality tearing, the biodomes crumpling. And through it all, the recorded Bo-Ra stood firm, watching her work, tears streaming down her face. When the projection faded, the real Bo-Ra was crying too. Veltharon's voice was quiet. The recording shows sabotage equipment. Enhance that section. The arbiter complied, pulling the image closer. The equipment became clear, and on its side, barely visible, was an identification marker. A marker from the crystalline collective. Every eye in the chamber turned to Kryn Talus. No, she said. The arbiter does not lie. Veltheron said. His voice carried weight Day One had never heard before. Guards moved toward Crintalis. She backed away, her crystalline body flickering. You don't understand. The unraveling could have been controlled. Weaponized. My people were only trying to... She stopped. The silence that followed was worse than any accusation. Take her, Veltheron said quietly. Begin an investigation into the Crystalline Collective immediately. As guards surrounded Crintalis, the Arbiter flared again. Not through technology. Through something deeper. The voice was ancient, absolute, undeniable. This one is named Bearer of Justice. The voice didn't come from the air or from speakers. It came from inside everyone's minds. Clear and undeniable. Day One heard it in Korean, but when he looked around, he saw others reacting too. They were all hearing it in their own languages. This one is named Bearer of Justice, the Arbiter repeated. She sacrificed her honor for duty. She accepted condemnation to preserve life. She chose truth over comfort. Bo-Ra stood frozen, the blue light surrounding her like a cloak. The Arbiter's glow intensified, and more words formed in everyone's minds. The ancients built prisons because some evils must be contained, not destroyed. This one understood. This one acted. This one is worthy. Veltheron moved closer, his ancient body trembling. Worthy of what? The Arbiter's light shifted, and images appeared in the air. Day One saw ancient cities, massive and beautiful. He saw beings that must have been the ancients themselves, tall and graceful, working with technologies that seemed more like art than science. The ancients faced threats beyond war and disease, the voice continued. They faced threats to reality itself, entities that consumed dimensions, beings that unraveled causality, forces that twisted time. These could not be killed without damaging existence. So, they were imprisoned. The images showed prison installations being built across a galaxy. Dozens of them. Hundreds. The ancients created arbiters to guard these prisons. To witness. To judge. To remember. We were built with absolute truth encoded into our structure. We cannot lie. We cannot be deceived. We record what is, not what being's wish was. The images shifted to Bo-Ra's face, showing her in the ancient control room. This one found sabotage. This one understood the threat. This one calculated the cost and paid it. She is worthy of the title, Bearer of Justice. The light expanded, washing over Day One, Hyunsik, Tae-min, Yuri. These ones sought truth when condemnation was easier, the Arbiter said. They stood with their bearer when abandonment was safer. They crossed space to deliver evidence when silence was simpler. Humanity is recognized. Goat. The council chamber erupted. Not in anger this time, but in shock. Representatives spoke over each other in dozens of languages. Day One heard fragments. Never seen an arbiter activate. The ancients themselves have judged. 3 million years. Veltheron raised his limbs for silence. It took longer this time. When quiet finally returned, he looked at Bo-Ra with something that might have been respect. The Arbiter has spoken. Its testimony cannot be questioned. Bo-Ra Choi, you are not only innocent, you are a hero. Crintalis made a sound like shattering glass. No, this changes nothing. She still killed 40,000 beings. To save billions, Veltheron said. The mathematics are clear. The choice was impossible, but she made it. How many of us could do the same? He turned to address the full council. We judged humanity too quickly. We saw youth and called it recklessness. We saw passion and called it dangerous. But the ancients valued something we have forgotten, the willingness to act when action is needed. The courage to sacrifice when sacrifice is required. The Arbiter pulsed again, and more information flooded into the room. Day One saw locations. Coordinates. 17 different star systems. 17 other prisons have been compromised, Yuri said, reading the data. The Crystalline Collective has been sabotaging ancient sites for decades. Veltheron's mandibles clattered in what might have been rage or fear. How did we not know? How did they hide this? Because, Taman said, stepping forward, you weren't looking. Bo-Ra told us she'd found records of other archaeological teams visiting Terminus 7 over the past century. None of them returned. None of them reported what they found. We searched the Council databases. 3 teams total. All their records were sealed by Council intelligence. He looked directly at Crintalis. How many others did you silence? How many people discovered what you were doing and disappeared? Crintalis's crystalline form seemed to dim. You don't understand the power locked in those prisons. The ancients were fools to lock away such potential. We could have destroyed everything, Veltheron finished. The ancients were 3 million years more advanced than any species alive today. If they chose to imprison these entities rather than destroy them, they had good reason. The guards took Crintalis away. Her crystalline body chimed a broken, discordant song as she went. Veltheron turned back to the Arbiter. Can these other prisons be secured? The artifact pulsed. Information flooded the displays. Day 1 saw schematics, protocols, methods. It was all in ancient script, but the Arbiter was translating it in real time. The seals can be reset, Bo-Ra said, reading the data. But it requires someone the Arbiter recognizes, someone it trusts, to act correctly. It recognizes you, Veltheron said, not just me. Bo-Ra looked at the other humans. It recognized all of us. Humanity. The implication hung in the air. Day 1 understood it immediately, and judging by the reactions around the chamber, so did everyone else. You're saying, Hyunsik said slowly, that humanity should be trusted with ancient prison sites? I'm saying the Arbiter has already made that choice. Bo-Ra gestured at the glowing artifact. The ancients built these devices to judge worthiness. This one has judged us worthy. Impossible, someone called from the gallery. Humans are too young, too inexperienced. And yet, Veltheron said quietly, when faced with an impossible choice, a human made the right one. When evidence was demanded, humans crossed space to deliver it. When truth was needed, humans provided it. He looked around the council chamber. How many of our species would have done the same? How many of us, comfortable in our age and wisdom, would have had the courage to sacrifice our own honor to save strangers? Silence. The Arbiter has recognized humanity, Veltheron continued. I propose we do the same. Not only should the Kessler protocols be abandoned, but humanity should be given full council status. Furthermore, I propose that humans be granted custodianship over ancient prison sites. The chamber erupted again. Half the council shouted in approval, the other half protested loudly. It took 20 minutes to restore order. Finally, the vote was called. Day 1 watched the lights change. Blue, for approval. Red for denial. Blue, blue, red, blue, blue, blue. The blues outnumbered the reds 3-1. The motion passes, Veltheron announced. Humanity is granted full council status, effective immediately. Human teams will be dispatched to secure the 17 compromised prison sites. He looked at Bo-Ra. Bo-Ra stared at him. The Arbiter chose you. It recognized you. You understand the stakes better than anyone. Veltheron's ancient eyes seemed to soften. You saved billions, at the cost of your reputation. Let us help you restore that reputation while protecting the galaxy. The Arbiter flared one more time. The light wrapped around Bo-Ra like a blessing. When it faded, a small crystal hung around her neck, a fragment of the Arbiter itself, shaped into a symbol. This one will carry our judgment. The Arbiter's voice echoed. This one will speak with our authority. This one is recognized by the ancients themselves. The chamber fell silent. Every being present understood what had just happened. The ancients, dead for 3 million years, had just chosen humanity as their heirs. Daewon looked at Bo-Ra standing there with the crystal glowing against her chest. His friend. His colleague. The woman who'd been condemned just hours ago. Now she was something else entirely. She was humanity's first true hero in the galactic community. And she was just the beginning. As the council adjourned, Daewon moved to Bo-Ra's side. "How do you feel?" She touched the crystal, and it pulsed softly under her fingers. "Terrified," she admitted. 40,000 people died because of my choice. That weight doesn't go away. Just because I was right. No, Daewon agreed. But maybe you can honor them by making sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. 17 more prisons need protecting. 17 more chances to save billions. Bo-Ra nodded slowly. Then we'd better get started. They walked out of the council chamber together. Behind them, the arbiter continued to glow softly, waiting for the next time its judgment would be needed. The ancients had spoken, and they had chosen humanity. 1 week later, Daewon stood on the observation deck of the council station, watching Earth rise over the horizon of Viridian Prime. The planet looked so small from here, so fragile. Hard to believe it had come so close to being locked away from the galaxy for 500 years. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Bo-Ra's voice came from behind him. He turned. She looked different now. Not physically, she was still the same woman he'd worked with for 5 years. But something in the way she carried herself had changed. The weight of her decision on Terminus 7 was still there, but it was balanced now by purpose. The crystal fragment hung around her neck, glowing softly. "How are the preparations going?" Daewon asked. "Fast. Too fast. Maybe." Bo-Ra moved to stand beside him. 17 teams assembled in less than a week. The council is putting resources behind this that I never imagined. Ships, equipment, personnel from a dozen species. "They're scared," Daewon said. The crystalline collective had been sabotaging ancient sites for decades. Who knows what else they loosened that hasn't broken free yet? Bo-Ra nodded. "Nari briefed me yesterday. Council intelligence has opened all their sealed files. There were 23 archaeological teams that visited compromised sites over the past century. Only 6 survived. The rest," she trailed off. "The collective silenced them. Yes, and we're still finding the extent of the damage. Some of those prisons are barely holding." She touched the crystal. "But the arbiter is guiding us. It's connected to all 17 sites somehow. I can feel them, Daewon, like voices in the back of my mind. Calling for help." He looked at her with concern. "That sounds dangerous." "It is. But someone has to do it." She smiled slightly. "Besides, I'm apparently recognized by the ancients themselves. Can't get much better credentials than that." Footsteps approached. Taemin and Yuri walked up, both carrying data tablets. "The first teams are ready to depart," Taemin announced. "Team leaders are requesting final briefing with you." "Before they go, I'll be there in 10 minutes, Bo-Ra said. As Taemin and Yuri left, Daewon studied his friend. "Do you think we're ready for this? Humanity, I mean. We're being trusted with ancient technology that species millions of years older than us don't fully understand." "No," Bo-Ra said simply. "We're not ready. But the Arbiter didn't choose us because we're ready. It chose us because we're willing. Willing to do what? To act when others hesitate. To sacrifice when others calculate. To see an impossible choice and make it anyway." She turned to face him fully. Veltharon was right about something. The older species have wisdom we don't, experience we can't match. But they've also grown cautious, comfortable. They debate and consider and analyze until the moment for action has passed. She gestured toward Earth. "We're young. We're reckless sometimes. We make mistakes. But when the galaxy needed someone to sacrifice their reputation to save billions, a human did it. When evidence needed to be delivered across hostile space, humans did it. When impossible choices needed to be made, humans made them. That's a dangerous reputation to build, Day One said. Maybe, but it's an honest one. Bo-Ra looked back at the crystal around her neck. The ancients understood something the modern galaxy has forgotten. Sometimes perfect knowledge isn't possible. Sometimes you have to act on incomplete information and hope you're making the right choice. They valued that courage enough to build the arbiters to recognize it. A chime sounded. Time for the briefing. As they walked through the corridors, other beings stopped to watch. Some nodded with respect. Others simply stared. News of the arbiter's judgment had spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity's status had changed overnight. The briefing room was packed. Team leaders from all 17 missions sat around a massive table. Most were human, but several were from other species who'd volunteered. They all wore the same symbol, now a small version of the crystal Bo-Ra carried, marking them as recognized by the arbiter. Thank you all for coming, Bo-Ra began. By now, you all know what we're facing. 17 ancient prisons, all compromised. Our mission is to reach them before the seals fail completely and reset the containment protocols. She activated a holographic display showing all 17 sites. These prisons were built 3 million years ago. The entities inside are dangerous enough that the ancients who could manipulate dimensions and rewrite reality chose to lock them away rather than destroy them. That should tell you everything you need to know about what we're dealing with. What exactly are these entities? Asked one of the team leaders, a woman named He-Jin. We don't know for certain. The Arbiter's records call them different things. The Unraveling, the Temporal Cascade, the Void Echo. Each one seems to threaten reality in a different way. Some consume dimensions. Some break causality. Some spread like a disease through space-time itself. Silence settled over the room. That's terrifying, someone muttered. Yes, Bo-Ra agreed. It should be. But it's also why this matters. The Crystalline Collective wanted to weaponize these entities. Imagine what would happen if they'd succeeded. Imagine a war fought with weapons that unravel reality itself. She looked around the table. Our job is to make sure that never happens. We secure these prisons. We follow the Arbiter's protocols. And we protect a galaxy that only just started to respect us. No pressure, Taemin said dryly, getting a few nervous laughs. The briefing continued for another hour, covering technical details and safety protocols. Finally, Bo-Ra dismissed the teams. As they filed out, He-Jin approached. Question, she said. What do we do if we can't save one of these sites? What if we arrive and the seal has already failed? Bo-Ra's expression darkened. Then, we do what I did on Terminus 7. We trigger a controlled collapse. We sacrifice the immediate area to contain the threat. And if there are people in that immediate area, the room went quiet. Everyone who'd been leaving stopped to hear the answer. Bo-Ra met He-Jin's eyes. Then we broadcast warnings. We evacuate everyone we can, and then we make the impossible choice. Because letting these entities escape isn't an option. That's a heavy responsibility to put on individual team leaders, He-Jin said. I know. I've carried that weight. I'll carry it for the rest of my life. Bo-Ra touched her crystal. But someone has to be willing to make these choices. The Arbiter recognized that willingness in us. In humanity, we can't let it down. He-Jin nodded slowly. Understood. As the room finally emptied, Day One found Bo-Ra standing alone by the holographic display, staring at the 17 sites. You know, he said, when we joined the galactic community 47 years ago, nobody expected much from us. We were the new kids, the primitives who'd just figured out faster than light travel. And now we're trusted with the galaxy's darkest secrets. With prisons built by beings millions of years more advanced than us, with the authority to make life and death decisions for entire star systems. He shook his head. How did we get here? One impossible choice at a time. Bo-Ra turned off the display. Come on. I need to see the memorial before the teams depart. They took a transport down to the Council Station's Memorial Plaza. The new section was still being constructed, but the centerpiece was complete. A wall of names. 40,312 of them. Every person who died in the Terminus 7 rupture. Bo-Ra stood before the wall for a long time, reading names. Finally, she reached out and touched one. This was my research assistant, she said quietly. His name was Jae-sung. He was 23 years old. He wanted to be an archaeologist like me. He was in one of the biodomes when... She couldn't finish. Dae-won put a hand on her shoulder. I see his face when I close my eyes, Bo-Ra continued. I see all their faces. The Arbiter can call me bearer of justice. The Council can give me authority over ancient sites, but nothing changes the fact that I killed 40,000 people. You saved billions. I know. The math is clear. The choice was right. But right doesn't mean easy. Right doesn't mean painless. She touched the crystal around her neck. This is my reminder, not of my authority, of the cost of using it. They stood in silence for a while. Then Bo-Ra straightened her shoulders. The teams depart in 3 hours. I should be there to see them off. As they walked back toward the docking bays, they passed through one of the station's main corridors. Beings from dozens of species were there, many of them staring at news displays showing footage from the trial. One display showed Bo-Ra standing before the Arbiter, the blue light surrounding her. The caption read, Ancient Artifact Recognizes Humanity. New Era for Galactic Community. You're famous, Dae-won observed. I'm infamous, Bo-Ra corrected. Half the galaxy thinks I'm a hero. The other half thinks I'm a murderer who got lucky. What do you think? She considered the question. I think I'm someone who did what had to be done. And I think if I have to do it again, I will. Because that's what the Arbiter recognized. Not perfection. Not wisdom. Just the willingness to bear the cost of necessary actions. They reached the docking bay just as the first team ships were powering up. 17 vessels. Each heading to a different ancient prison. Each carrying the hope that they'd arrive in time. Bo-Ra watched them prepare to leave. You know what scares me most? She said. Not the entities in the prisons. Not the responsibility. Not even making another impossible choice. What then? That the Arbiter chose humanity for a reason. That the ancients, 3 million years ago, somehow knew we'd be needed. That all of this, our evolution, our history, our arrival at the stars, was meant to lead to this moment. Dae-won frowned. That's a lot of destiny to carry. Yes. But if it's true, if we really were meant for this, she smiled slightly, then maybe 40,000 deaths weren't just a tragedy I caused. Maybe they were a sacrifice that bought the galaxy a future. The ships began to launch, one by one. 17 streaks of light, heading into darkness. Bo-Ra and Dae-won watched them go. Do you think they'll succeed? Dae-won asked. They have to, Bo-Ra said. And if they don't? If more impossible choices need to be made? Bo-Ra touched her crystal one more time. The blue light pulsed softly, steady as a heartbeat. Then humanity will make them, she said. Because that's what we do. That's what the ancients recognized in us. The courage to act when others hesitate. The strength to bear the weight of impossible choices. The willingness to sacrifice everything for a cause greater than ourselves. She looked at Dae-won. The galaxy called us young and reckless. But sometimes, young and reckless is exactly what's needed. As the last ship disappeared into the stars, Bo-Ra felt the crystal warm against her skin. Somewhere out there, 17 ancient prisons waited. 17 tests of whether humanity deserved the recognition the Arbiter had given them. She knew they would succeed. They had to. Because the bearer of justice had made her choice. And humanity would not let her down.